Welcome, everyone. I'm pleased to introduce our presenters, Abhii Parakh, Head of Enterprise Experience Design at Prudential, and Rahul Sethi, NPS Prism co-founder and Executive Vice President. For now, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Rahul to begin.
Thank you, Rachel. Good morning, good afternoon, and evening to all our participants joining us from different parts of the world today. We're really excited about the session and to learn more from Abhii on Prudential Financial's CX transformation journey. Quick introductions. Again, as Rachel mentioned, Rahul Sethi, I'm the co-founder of NPS Prism and lead our business globally. I would love to hand it over to Abhii to do a quick introduction before we dive in.
Sure, Rahul. That sounds good. And good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all. So I wanted to take a minute maybe just to introduce a little bit about Prudential as well, and then I'll go into my role. But Prudential is a 150-year-old insurance and investment management company. If you're unfamiliar, we are very much a purpose-driven company. So the company originally started to provide burial insurance to working-class families who didn't have access to financial products. And our purpose remains the same today. In fact, the key reason most people come to work at Prudential is our purpose of making lives better. That's the lens through which we focus on our clients, customers, and communities, as well as shareholders. And I see my role with the same lens. I lead our enterprise experience design team. My uber talented and customer obsessed team of designers, VOC experts, journey managers are all tightly integrated with our business partners, as well as more than 150 agile teams. And together, we weave together easy, empathetic, end-to-end experiences that deliver on business goals and customer needs. Together with leaders across the company, I'm also helping drive our global CX transformation, through which we will deliver industry-leading customer and client experiences.
That's great, Abhii. Thank you so much for that context. I think that's really put things in perspective as an organization, 150 years old, and the transitions that it's probably gone through over that 150 years as well. What I would really love to do, Abhii, is perhaps start off right at the start of the customer experience transformation journey that you really came into at Prudential. Perhaps you could share with us more specifically what your goals were when you came into this role, and also why was this really the right time to think about it in the manner that you went about as well?
Okay, so let's start with the goals, and I'll answer them in two ways. So one, where are we trying to get to with the CX transformation? What's the destination? And number two, what are we really trying to achieve, right, as we get there? So the answer to where we're trying to get to is that we'd like to deliver industry-leading customer and client experiences. Industry-leading customer and client experiences. So that's our destination. But what happens when you reach your destination? Does the journey stop? Does the transformation stop? So to me, the second question is the more important one, right? What are we really trying to achieve here? And to me, that's to create lasting change, to edit the very DNA of our culture. So no matter what, customer needs always remain our North Star. CX transformation is a never-ending journey because customer expectations, technology are always evolving. So the legacy of this work will be the culture of customer centricity. You also asked me why this was the right time to take it on. In fact, our journey began in 2021. So 2021 was a pretty big news year, right? COVID-19 was in its Delta wave, lots of anxiety over getting vaccine appointments. And let's just say Capitol Hill has seen better days. So rough year all around. But there were some small good news stories as well. NASA, for example, performed the first ever flight on another planet where the Ingenuity copter flew over Mars. Prudential had its own small big moment in 2021. We set our eyes on growth, and as marketing and CX leaders, we knew we could power this growth story for the long term by investing in and transforming our customer, client, and financial advisor experience.
And it's interesting you mentioned about the 2021 and putting things in perspective on what was happening in the world as well. Like, as many of us would recognize, it was not an easy time. And how did you go about, just given the size of your organization, get the right alignment, right? Because a lot of us would appreciate and recognize that driving alignment is a key part of any transformation. Is there anything you could share with us on that perspective as well?
Yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about the process, right? As we were taking this on, And getting alignment was actually a key component of that. So first, we needed to assess where we stood on CX, right, back in 2021. What we found was, like many companies, we had some of the CX basics, right? So our CX teams had been consolidated, customer obsession was a stated cultural aspiration, but measurement was inconsistent, and CX metrics were not tracked consistently on business scorecards. So the result was inconsistent customer centricity and suboptimal customer outcomes. To create lasting change, like I was mentioning before, we knew we needed to create organizational level transformation, and we had our work cut out. So, and we did 5 things, right, in hindsight. The first was actually we started out by strengthening our talent foundation by identifying the critical CX capabilities that we would need for this transformation to work. And we reoriented talent into the critical roles. But we knew that it wasn't just the CX talent that we needed, right? So we created cross-functional work streams with leaders ranging all the way from finance and legal to analytics, customer service, as well as brand and comms. And number 2, once we had that talent foundation, we tried to shore up executive sponsorship, right, and alignment. So we leveraged this pool of talent to lay out the state of CX at Prudential. We got global leaders from every business and function together to align on the belief system that a focus on CX will drive growth. We've met those leaders now every 6 to 8 weeks since that point. To win their minds as well as hearts was the key, right? So to win their minds, it's of course research and facts that show how CX industry leaders have twice the revenue growth, right, than the laggards. And to win the hearts, we knew we had to bring the customer into the room. So funny story, when we started in 2021, we had no easy way to access our customers and get them into the room. So we leveraged our friends and family who did business with Prudential, and we recorded a video with their feedback. So real scrappy beginnings so we could get started. And actually that video is now part of our popular CX training course. So that was the step, the second step around getting that alignment. And if you carry that the thread forward, once we got that alignment, we knew we had to align on a set of CX metrics as well, right, on the same alignment theme. So we harmonized all of our CX measurements globally and set business level targets. Of course, we're also using benchmarks such as Prism to assess where we stand against competition and what experience enhancements would give us the biggest bang for a buck. But that was another component of that alignment as well. In September of last year, we actually launched the CX transformation program to all employees globally. As part of that launch, we started democratizing customer insights that were coming out of our unified CX measurements. And then we launched trainings and tools to help all employees align on customer needs, customer scores, customer feedback. So we started with sort of the talent. We went into executive alignment, harmonization of our CX measurement program, and then getting all the employees aligned towards what we're trying to do and the why behind it. And lastly, step number 5, while it was okay to sort of communicate and launch to all the employees, we did need a broader group of employees or influencers to take a more active role. So we birthed a new employee movement by empowering our customer champions across the company. And today, more than 300 of them are driving CX missions. So long answer to your question about alignment, but alignment can happen at many different levels.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious about the last point you just shared around creating those champions, right? Because in some ways, those internal champions can drive a lot and help with the alignment. Could you share a little bit more about how did you go about that? That sounds like a really interesting way to kind of, drive change. I would love to, if you could shine a little bit more light on that process as well.
Yeah. So with champions, we wanted this to be grounds up movement. We actually leveraged our business resource groups. So these are sort of veterans groups, Black leadership forums, so all the different employee groups we have, because we wanted to make sure we had a variety of opinions, diversity of thought, So we had a sort of event with them, and we told them what we were trying to do. We, of course, had some of our executive sponsors join that call to let everybody know that we're serious about this. And basically, it was a recruitment drive. We told everybody about what we're trying to do, why this is important. And I think there was a lot of excitement, and we got way more applications in than we had thought we would need to get this program off the ground. So that was really encouraging, because I think customer experience in general is so personal to folks. People experience companies' experiences every day in different ways. And it's a moment of pride when you can provide a really good experience to your customer, or you have a hand in making something happen for your customers. So there was a lot of excitement, energy, and that translated to applications that came in. We obviously wanted to make sure that their managers were okay with them spending some time carrying out additional customer experience activities. But of course, this is a learning and growth opportunity for our employees. So it was seen as a positive. We then brought all of those champions together in March of this year in person for what we called the Rev event. So right as we were kicking off, we had Rev event, we had speakers to inspire them, energize them. We had senior leaders come and talk to them. So it was a really great way to get them all energized about the program. And now they are they're running, the movement is actually snowballing. So we don't have to supply so much information. They are creating their own ways locally in their functions and their businesses that they represent on how best to align to providing those customer experiences.
Yeah. I like the way I think you talked about the snowballing. That does demonstrate success in some shape or form. The fact that now it's kind of spreading across the organization. In general, as you've thought about this transformation from your vantage point, like how do you measure success? And are there any early results that you could share with us today?
Sure. There's actually a few ways that we measure success, right? So, of course, there's progress towards our destination. So I had mentioned the destination is industry-leading CX. We measure that with customer reported ease and recommendation scores. So CX professionals joining the call today will be familiar with ease of doing business. So we measure that at the transaction level and the journey level. And of course, Net Promoter Score at the relationship level. And we're celebrating the fact that 70% of our experiences became easier last year. And 100% of our NPS scores have improved or stayed even, and they're on track to meet our end of year goals. So that's one way, right? Just the pure CX measurement. The second way is the cultural change, the sort of lasting DNA edit that I was talking about. We measure that via our employees' engagement with customer experience. So a couple of examples. As of a month ago, 92% of employees who took sort of an employee survey believed that we are making progress towards our destination. And 74% actually understand our customers' biggest pain points. So I was shocked, right? Very positively surprised by this in less than a year since launch. Another example is the quarterly customer experience results call, which we host just like an earnings call, right? And we open that to everybody. It's voluntary participation. Attendance started with 100 employees last year and has grown to more than 1,000 employees every quarter who out of their own time are tuning in to learn more about customer feedback, data, and verbatims exist. And lastly, our agile teams are empowered to use customer feedback, and they make changes in an iterative fashion. We also have proof in the ROI for CX, right? So that's another way that you can quantify the success, right? So for example, our CX analytics team has proven with our own data that customers that were promoters were more than 200% more valuable than our detractors. 200% more value, right? So of course, we convert those detractors, that would lead to exponential growth. And we see similar results for other cohorts like advisors as well.
That's fantastic. I mean, I think as you and I have chatted about as well, like outside, and that's what we even see in Prism, is just the power of creating more promoters, and the value you get is pretty substantial for the business in the long term. I think what I really enjoyed about that, the perspective you shared, Abhi, was the fact that it does look like you made this effort to not get stuck on the score or the metric, right? But really make it about the change, the transformation, which is, we see this across a lot of different organizations and industries. It's complicated. So I think the fact that you've been able to drive, this change culture, get everyone excited with the earnings call experience of the customer experience side, I think that those truly are signs to kind of sow the seeds for the long term. Is there any advice you would have for other companies that are going through similar CX journeys? I'm sure there's folks on this call that would really benefit from your advice as well.
So I just wanted to mention one thing around sort of where we are, right? So customer experience is today part of our core strategy for the company. CX targets are in executive scorecards, performance management decisions, and embedded in our prioritization process. And most importantly, our customer, clients, and advisors' experience, as demonstrated by those scores, have improved tremendously. 1 year from the launch of the program, we feel extremely pleased with this. So I wouldn't say that we have become the industry leader, right, the standard bearer yet, but this is a story about in a short duration, right, and what empowered people can make happen in just 1 to 2 years, very short time frame. So the advice I would give is sort of geared, just to put the context in place, is when you're starting something off, this transformation around customer experience, sort of what are the things that worked for us, right? That would be the advice. So I would say a couple of things. Number one, it's all about people. It's said all the time, but it's true. Yeah. From executive sponsorship to the core talent you'll need in your core team. And then, of course, who the influencers will be in the organization. So you have to think about all those stakeholders, because if you don't start with sponsorship, everything else is doomed. The second thing I would say is speak fluent business. So I think in the customer experience world, we have our own sort of jargon. And you have to be able to express the return on investment in business terms, right? So when we calculated the CX ROI, it was in terms, in financial terms. Thanks for everybody who joined. I hope you took something out of this, and you can always find me on LinkedIn if you have any more questions.